Hello, it's the beginning of the week for me, so I'm going to start by playing a little solo journaling game that I got in one of my itch.io bundles. It is called A Visit to San Sibilia by Peter Eek. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've got with me a deck of playing cards, which is what I need, and I just have to remove the jokers. There we go, jokers removed. Give it a bit of a shuffle. There we go. Now, the only other thing I need is a text file which I have open and the PDF. So, A Visit to San Sibilia is a solo journaling game in which you roleplay a character chronicling their visit to the city of San Sibilia. It is a city not found on any maps. San Sibilia is both part and distinct from our world. The city manifests itself differently to every visitor. To play A Visit to San Sibilia, you will need a journal, digital document, or something else to write on, a writing utensil or text editor, a standard deck of playing cards, and a six-sided die, optional. Well, I've got a six-sided die here anyway, I always do. This game takes between 1 and 2 hours depending on the cards you draw and the time you spend on each journal entry. Your journaling might deal with themes of loneliness, alienation, and failure. If writing an entry ever makes you feel too uncomfortable, either discard your cards and draw again, or put the journal away, returning if and when you feel ready to do so. San Sibilia. This city never changes. This city never stays the same. Close to the coast on a river delta, San Sibilia's sprawling districts are connected by rambling trams and ramshackle ferries. In its centre lies Saint Ricochet, a district full of churches and temples. Artists and dilettantes gather in the open-air cafes of La Bohemian. Across the river is Bislo, where the factory workers live among narrow streets and leaning houses. You may have seen San Sibilia on a map a long time ago when you were browsing the atlas in your mother's study, but when you checked the book later, the city had disappeared. Or you may have read about it once in a 20-part encyclopedia in a dusty shop around the corner, but haven't been able to find the bookstore since. So, San Sibilia is an enigma, I would imagine. Character creation. In this game, you'll log your experiences during a visit to San Sibilia. First, shuffle your deck and either brainstorm a persona for yourself or draw 2 cards to generate a character using the following table. If the cards you draw feel wrong or don't speak to you, feel free to draw again, or simply pick a combination you fancy. Return the cards to the bottom of the deck. Okay, so I am drawing a 4 of hearts and a 4 of clubs. Interesting. So 4 of hearts. What do we? Oh, okay. Wait a minute. So we're not worried about suit, obviously. So I did 2 4s. So it's a callous poet. Do I want to be callous? No. I will draw a new card. 3. Intrepid poet. That's better. So I am a intrepid poet. Interesting. Starting your journal. You are a visitor to San Sibilia. Maybe you've been looking for the city for years, or maybe you arrived here trying to escape another place. Maybe this is your first visit, or maybe you've spent your youth on these ever-changing streets. Start by writing your character's name. Next, draw a row of 4 small boxes underneath your name. You'll be checking off these later. Then start the first entry in your journal by writing the title Day 1 and answering all or some of the following questions. Okay, so before I start answering those questions, I need a name. I will save this first anyway. A name. I could either just come up with one straight out of my head, which is faster, or I could use a generator. I'm just going to come up with one out of my head. My name is Geo. Gyro Klausman. Gyro Klausman. So Gyro Klausman, how did you come to San Sibilia? Did you arrive by train, car, boat, or some other manner? Or did you simply wake up and find yourself here? I like the idea of just simply waking up. Gyro wakes to find himself in the middle of a well-tended flower bed, crushed flowers beneath his reeking bones. How did you learn about San Sibilia? Once, as a child, he learned of San Sibilia in his social studies class lesson. Where are you staying in San Sibilia? Not disinherited. What would be the word for benefactor? I was going to say disowned, but has disavowed him. Due to his boorish behaviour. Who have you met in San Sibilia? Gyro met a prostitute. Nancy Well, who became his drinking partner in crime. What did you bring to San Sibilia? Gyro brought only a single suitcase of belongings. All he has in the world. Okay, save. Okay, that should get us started. Inspiration. As days go by, you can decide how many fictional days have passed between journal entries or roll a six-sided die to determine the days for you. Okay, so wait a minute. What did I needed to do? Draw 4 small boxes. I will just do 4 asterisks. And okay, save. That is saved. And next is as days go by. So let's roll a die. 1. So 1 day has passed. Day 1. I go to my feet and brush off my dirt. Now I can decide how many fictional day. What is it? Adjective table. Where's okay? Title your next entry day of your visit and draw 2 cards. Consult the adjective. So 11 of hearts and 10 of hearts. I don't think this deck's been shuffled enough. That's okay. So red suits. Oh, they're both red. So I've got inventive and hopeful. Okay. I'm going to write this journal in the first person, obviously, just to keep it simple. I felt, what did I say, inventive and hopeful. Hopeful that my inventive nature would prevail in this current state of affairs. I decided I would not meet with Nancy today. Okay, I'm gonna say that is the end of day one. It's like, okay, day. I think keeping his journal entries brief makes sense for this character. So let's draw another 2 cards. Oh, wait a minute, what was I going to say? If adjective for, okay, don't worry, I made a little mistake, but that's fine because I'm just playing this for the first time and learning. So I was supposed to do adjective, that makes more sense, and a location. But I quite like the first entry, so I'm not going to change it. I think that's good. So I'll do day 2. I'll just check. Let's see. Okay. Whenever you draw 2 cards of the same suit or 2 cards of the same value, the city changes. Okay, so I'll remember. That's the other thing I have to remember. Okay, so let's do day 2. Draw 2 new cards. Seven and a 7. Okay. I definitely need to shuffle this a lot better, a lot more. But I will take that for now as an example of how the city changes. So it says when you draw 2 cards of the same suit or 2 cards of the same value, the city changes. So I got two of the same value in a row. You changed the city. Do you leave a mark, or will no one know it was you? Did you instigate a minor change, or will the city never be the same? Okay, so on day 2 he makes a big thing. What could it be? I think I might draw 2 new cards for the adjective and the location to give me a prompt. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, or... Oh, well, I did a 7 and a 7, so let's do it all as one big thing. So adjective is queer. News in the broadsheets. Oh, okay, that is perfect. So, as I walk past the newspaper stand, the boy recognizes me. I am on the front page. Okay, intrepid poet. Now, going back to intrepid poet, the story tells of my... Okay, what could he... Tells of my... expedition to the jungles of Baranda. And how I wrote a poem to end the war with the Delar Empire. I took the paper from the boy as a keepsake. Day 3. Okay, Day 3, draw 2 new cards. Boom. Boom. Queen of Diamonds, 6 of Spades. Queen, Red Queen, joyous. Message from long lost friend. I received a joyous message from someone I had not talked to for many years. Sebastian, congratulated me on my poetry, my poetic it touched me. Okay. Day 4. 2 new cards. 4 of clubs, 10 of hearts. Inventive again. Week-long festival. If I use that, well, I've already used inventive, so I'll use week. 4, a black 4. Intriguing. I decided to visit the Day 5. Read 4. Read 3. Long overdue. And poetry reading. Oh my god, that's... So, day 4, Gyro visited the Festival of the Dark Corner. And Nancy, he met back up with Nancy again. And they had a nice time together. It was a pleasant night. Long overdue poetry reading. I had been invited to the Salome Cafe for a long overdue poetry reading. visited. Many people from far and wide, from the wider province. Many people from the provincial from far and wide Day 6. Two new cards. 11 and 11. Read 11, read 8. Okay. Why are there 11? That's not right. Oh, that's from a different deck. Okay, so I read 8 and I read 8, so there's another change. So let's write down what read 8. Illuminating and a parade. Okay, so Festival of Dark Corner. It could have. I'll just say. Okay, and the city has to change on this one. So it was 2 before I get into day 7. Um, 2, so I changed the city again. How do I do this? How do I change the city with the parade? I keep getting me changing the city. It would have been good if it was another. Oh yeah, that's right. So I can check these off. That's right. So I've had 1 city change, 2 city change. So when there's 4 city changes like this, then the game ends and I put in a denouement. I wandered the streets admiring the artistry that went into the parade floats. How could I change? How could my character change the city? So I'm at a parade. It's the last night of the festival of the Dark Corner. It was an illuminating experience. Although I felt my presence was not altogether what's the word? Not altogether benign. A great feeling of guilt washed over me, and dark storm clouds gathered. The parade came to an end. Day 7. 9 of diamonds and 8 of clubs. Much needed. Encounter at midnight. next day. Oh. So I've got an ace, a black ace and a black king. A black ace and a black king. Black ace illicit. Oh. Oh. Mean. Illicit memory from times long past. And so 2 clubs in a row. A new wind is blowing. This could be as simple as a change in the weather, or it could also be a new political power rising, a new artistic movement, or a new fad sweeping the city. Okay, I like the new political power. Day 9. Two of diamonds, ace of diamonds. Oh, so that's 2 diamonds in a row. Okay, so this is the last day. So on day 9, which is the last day, there's a first time visit to a small museum and 2 diamonds in a row. A ripple, reality is shifting. Okay, so I visited a small I visited a small curious museum today with Nancy. She seemed different. In fact, the whole experience seemed surreal. I'd never seen this museum, let alone the street it was on. I broke the news to Nancy that I was to leave San Sibilia. I had grown weary of the city and the changes afoot. I said that my kind was no longer seen as equal among the gentlefolk here, and the high society no longer approved of my prose. She cried. The end of your stay. When you have ticked off all 4 boxes, your stay in San Sibilia draws to an end. Write one last entry in your journal answering all or some of these questions. Day 10. Today is the day I left San Siberia. I did not inform Nancy of the time How did the city change you? I What will you take with you? Did you take anyone with you? Which memorabilia did you collect, and which memories? What did you leave in San Sibilia? what's a good flower? Will he ever return? Today is the day I left San Sibilia. I did not inform Nancy of the time I would depart. I felt that it would only make matters worse. As I looked out of the train at the roller green hills and numerous vineyards sailing by, I dreamt of the time spent at San Sibilia. I dreamt of Nancy and her warm embrace. I felt softer, less rough around the edges. I felt the pain of the past fading into the background. San Sibilia and my time there made me appreciate the moments that make up the tapestry. The tapestry that is my existence. I open my notebook to write this entry, and I see the dry primrose put there by Nancy. I do not know if I will ever return. Too much has changed, and the kingdom is becoming more uncertain. There is a great turmoil on the horizon, and I want no part of it. Finn. And there we go. How will you find your way back? Who will tell you about the city, and will they believe you? How will the city have changed since you go? Save. So that's a good, short, quick writing exercise. Well, that's just an hour. Yeah, basically that was an hour. So that's my visit to San Sibilia. I'll put a link in the description for this document on itch.io. Yeah, I find that it's really good for just getting the creative juices flowing. I actually like. I never imagined what the story would be, and I feel like just expanding upon it now. And I like this sort of structure of writing in journal form. It seems less intimidating, you know, writing in short, journal entries, rather than looking at a page and thinking of the daunting task of, writing page upon page upon page. Just write one journal entry at a time until you've got a story. Yeah, so cool. That's me for now. I will be back at another time with more creativity, writing, role-playing games, and such like. Thanks for watching, and have a great day, wherever you are.